Hi, welcome to another edition of Simply Stated here on YouTube at Deborah Casey. I'm just listening to a teaser I just made. I can put that down. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish my makeup here. Today's episode we're going to be talking about actually Mariah, Carey, Michelle Obama, and Nicole Kidman. And yeah, it is going to go into all the issues I've been going through with terrorism and counterterrorism and all that stuff. And the Simply Stated episodes and the thought project. I'm actually going to finish up my makeup for a moment here while I've got you. So apparently last night Mariah Carey was honored at some kind of event, calling her an icon. And what is this? Like some woman, I'll look this up really quickly. Like some kind of icon event. It was really weird. Looking. Like it looked like something that she'd paid to have put together. Oh, she accepted the Icon Award at the 2025 iHeart Radio Awards. Okay. And then Money Long performed as well as for her, which looked really awkward. I only watched like 10 seconds of it because it was so awkward just to look at. Like I don't have a lot of time for stuff that isn't hard news, and then I have the rest of my life to live because I actually work, so it's kind of like I don't know, people. So anyways, iHeartRadio. Okay. Actually, iHeartRadio was pretty nice to me. They seem to be pretty nice to newer artists and people I wouldn't really be new, but, people that don't always spend time on the industry, right? Because I certainly don't. I'm just going to keep doing makeup while I talk to you today. And I think what's kind of important to note about Mariah Carey that I'm wondering about is that she apparently is the child of a man named Alfred Roy Carey who came here from Venezuela. Yeah, Venezuela. And I have been asking about this myself for a few years. Like, people have been wondering for over 10 years what his exact role was. Because he turned out to be an aeronautical engineer. Now, the mom was Irish, right? Her mom was Irish. Dad was from Venezuela. So, and he turned out to be an aeronautical engineer. And then we've had all these weird issues with the Russian gangs, like Russian FSB, which is actually their military, and then, Trinidad Agua having hyper-advanced military systems to use to carry out tasks. And then you look at the pop music industry, and it's been overfilled with all these people from Russia, these other countries that are, Russian in ancestry, and I think even Mariah Carey's Russian, and she's got this position in the industry as like this diva, the only one that can actually sing or actually does sing and isn't using a record back mic supposedly, and yet now she's doing performances in diapers and, constantly looks drunk. And I just don't really buy it, because as you recall, I was trained in music to sing and then should have had a contract to perform, and then ended up being told that if I didn't have money to pay to perform and pay to go to events, which is what all these people are doing, and wouldn't even steal or, I certainly wouldn't sell someone's kid to go perform at the Grammys, then I wasn't going to be welcome in the industry. It was only for people who are part of gangs and violence, right? So Grammys, Emmys, Golden Globes, Oscars, you have to be a gang member. And you have to have a ton of money or just be independently wealthy somehow in order to attend. So I, and spent years being trafficked and beaten and abused literally by the industry, and unfortunately provided the material for one of Mariah Carey's songs, and then didn't get paid for that. Just during the years where I was stuck in Pennsylvania, and it was Mariah Carey's song that she did with Boyz II Men, but it was the one, what is it, like Someday? Yeah, it was Someday. I had to write it about somebody I had known and then just give it to them to perform as if it was theirs. And, what I want to say about this is because Boyz II Men got out of the industry. Like, we've gone through some of this. Boyz II Men just decided to get away from all of it. They retired and pulled out. And some of it was because of the issues of Mariah Carey and the fact that her father is supposed to be some kind of aeronautical engineer, but he's obviously out of Venezuela, and then he's tied in with these Russian gang groups, and they've now been labeled terrorist organizations here in the U.S. And it's like, of all the people in the industry that we want to trust, and then she turns out to be the one tied to the gangs. And that's my problem, is that, I was more than happy to go to medical school or do nursing or something else, but instead I ended up in this program over at Georgetown where people demanding that I work for free for like J-Lo and go back to being trafficked instead of continuing my nursing program. I had to leave my nursing program. And then I went to another nursing program down in Charlottesville, and again was stalked by people, by Buffalo Bill and other people who were tied to Luther College, but also like Mariah Carey said as well, and J-Lo's and Taylor Swift's, unfortunately. And I'd say unfortunately because Mariah Carey is the last person I want to suspect, but when her father turns out to be this strange engineer from Venezuela, and we have all these weird gangs here, and nobody is performing live, and then even she's starting to lip sync now. And I think, is Mariah Carey even really a singer, or is she just another playback mic artist? Because somebody invented that technology. It definitely came from the Russian FSB in one of their, groups. So I'm suspicious of her now, and I think, it's just really time for her to go. I look at her breakdowns, the blow-ups, the fact that she was so unsupportive after 9/11 of the U.S., that she has always acted drunk and totally unprofessional at events. And if there was ever an example of somebody who appeared to be a singer and then is not, and is totally unprofessional in the industry, and an example of what's, because everything has just fallen down to an even lower level since her, it's her. And when I look at like Dua Lipa, who is literally lip syncing and dances badly and really doesn't care, who do they have for a role model for that? Because it's pretty clearly Mariah Carey. And of course, betrayed Whitney Houston. I definitely think she betrayed Whitney Houston. Oh yeah. I thought they were maybe like friends and in the same position. But I spent some time talking to people, interviewing them, even when I was in the shelters this last year. And then people from like, what you would call like the hood and stuff, especially down in like Detroit, where they would know. And they said, Mariah Carey is not a Whitney Houston. She is absolutely a, hold on to your seats, like going to turn out to be the mastermind behind Trinity Aqua and the Russian FSB and this crap with Endeavor using all these gangs to run this stuff. And it's probably going to turn out that her father was the engineer that put it all together. And, that's just something we all have to kind of confront, because it isn't like I just want to be on stage and perform. I wanted to have regular employment. I'm somebody who was seeking job opportunities, and my chances to go to medical school were ruined by them. Nursing school has been ruined. I have permanent back injury now. I have several from them. Look at my hands, like face, like, to turn out that Mariah Carey is just another person who would literally have your mom raped and beaten, and you raped and beaten so she can perform on stage, is the reality we're all starting to get in line with. And that's something that has to be done very delicately as a nation, but it's the reality. It's also why I noticed up here, like, hardly anyone listens to Mariah Carey at Christmas anymore. Anywhere. All over the state. Like, they just do not care and want to hear her stuff. And, it's not worth really fighting with her specifically. I wouldn't go to her about it, but you need to think about that. That, it looks more and more like she's just another person who really doesn't quite possibly sing at all. I can't find anyone at these events, like especially the Grammys, who actually sing. I just can't find anyone. And they don't seem to write their own music at all. And I've gone like years of working and never been paid. That's the other problem. If I'd been paid for all this work, a lot of it wouldn't have mattered, but I didn't get paid for years of work. Multiple projects, millions of dollars, and there was a traffic in my body on top of it, and not paid. People don't pay for work. They all just thought they were supposed to be for free. And obviously J-Lo was the worst or most egregious, but, there's no getting around it. There's a problem there. And none of it would matter too much today if payment had simply been made and some of these attackers didn't show up. But, here I am. I mean, it's present day. Here for us trash bag. Gotta throw that tea in the trash bag. Gotta throw that tea bag out in the trash. None of this would matter too much if anyone had ever had restitution. I haven't. And then multiple injuries and still current activity on part of the gangs. The U.S. government's like ramping up more to focus on what's going to end up being military operations here in the U.S. to stop them, because the gangs have spread all over the country. And, we're supposed to somehow worship Mariah Carey. Never mind. Also, it's notable that the Japanese point out to me that she had adopted some of the symbols and signs that my mom had used and parts of her personality, which is really creepy. And then she like co-opted them to make the signals around them to be really just inappropriate, and like co-opted them to make signaling out of them, which is just something that would have been really upsetting to my mom, I think. Moving on, I'm going to talk about this. There's been a little bit of controversy over Michelle Obama's podcast. I don't watch it. I just looked at some of the transcripts. Apparently, there's been some articles in La Marca, which is usually pretty good. They definitely were on track when Ben Affleck and J.Lo were starting to split up, and are saying that former President Obama is dating Jennifer Aniston, which really would not surprise me after having lived in the Washington, D.C. area, frankly. I just say that because, here's the thing. During the first term of Obama, there was a lot that just was set up by the Bush administration that was bad with the cartels and terrorism. He was supposed to be the counterterrorism president, and everything with Bose Allen Hamilton, I've already explained to you, was just the opposite of that. And the first term was really bad. And I was getting abused. I was getting beaten and raped weekly and told to work for free on projects, and like literally had no protection, and was just, was project after project for all these different people that I named for you on the show. And frankly, I found that Michelle Obama just looked totally insane and psychotic, jumping up into the White House and, spouting off to everyone. And then, and she's got the water for the White House turned green for St. Patrick's Day, and we're all supposed to be happy about it, and yet everyone's just totally depressed. And she can't understand or relate to the rest of us. Like, she couldn't relate to normal people at all. And it's important to understand that she had a lot of anger problems and a lot of mood swings, and then she started doing press conferences where she was literally saying to people in public, that she wanted to dress up and sneak around and look at people. And the White House confirmed that they were actually letting her do that when I talked to them about it. It wasn't covered particularly well in the news, but I don't think people really knew what to do with it because it meant she was basically mentally ill. I think she was going through depression, and then President Obama at the time was out literally every day, like, lecturing everyone. And in some ways it seemed like they were just two lawyers trying to get the truth out of people, and at the same time I really just felt like it was just sheer incompetence, and they were really just trying to get him a Bush. So the first term was really Bush-led, and then the rest of us kind of organized for living in the area to, like, help them, because obviously the Democratic Party just wasn't getting done. I ended up, talking back and forth with people who actually worked in the West Wing and did what I could to contribute. I also came to the conclusion that I don't want to clarify something from yesterday, because someone might try to compare my watching Wendy Williams when I was sick to, like, the way that I watched Oprah when I was growing up. Oprah was somebody that Cersei, Patricia, the woman who actually has a guy by the name Fatina, wanted me to watch as part of their network with the Russian FSB. Wendy Williams was not. And the thing about watching Wendy's show is I got really motivated and got involved more in the Republican Party and launched my own blog. And her show had a way of motivating me to be active. I didn't watch her show and think, gosh, I'm just going to sit around and mope about a man. I got motivated to fix my problems. And that's like what a good talk show host